Thank you so much, Bernadette Boas, for being here. I am so excited to be speaking with you. You want to just take like 30 seconds to tell us exactly what you do?
I am a corporate executive leadership coach, consultant, and trainer, slash facilitator, speaker, and podcast host. Uh, so a little bit of everything.
Yeah, that's the most fun, right? Like you can't do
Yeah.
anything for too much.
Right, right,
And then
right.
like we're hitting all different parts of like what we enjoy.
Absolutely. Well, I have to then throw in pickleball and puppies.
Oh, yes.
I would have to throw those two things in then.
Yeah. Okay. So I know your story is a bit, I don't know if dramatic is the right word, but not so much fun, right? Like some people leave corporate to like do their own things because like they decide like they want to do their own things. But I think you had a little bit of a different experience. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I did. I did. It wasn't necessarily my choice. I found myself on a very early Monday morning, that the Monday after Thanksgiving weekend. I found myself in the middle of a parking lot with a pink slip in my hand and a single box of my 25-year career, having been fired by my mentor of 12 years. And so, as opposed
Hold on,
to,
before
though
we
I
like go on, what were you doing for those past 25 years?
I was a senior corporate executive. So I had been everything from a buyer all the way up to a chief knowledge officer and vice president.
Awesome. Okay. And what was the reason for this pink slip?
Well, what happened there was I didn't understand why it was. They just basically said I no longer fit into what they were looking for, from a leader. And yet I didn't understand that because I was a massive producer and I was a huge revenue generator. And so standing in the middle of that parking lot, I was kind of going through like, what the hell just happened? And I was angry and I was confused. And yet at the same time, there was a small part of me that was really excited. And that totally kind of confused me because I was like, why would I be excited about losing my identity, losing my income, losing my career that I worked my butt off for 25 years? And so I kind of went on what I call my excavation of my soul journey, because I knew that man that had fired me, who I revered and I respected, didn't do it for little reason, didn't do it for something that wasn't really powerful and really important. So I had to go and reflect on what that was. And about a year and a half into that excavation, as I call it, I discovered that I was a really nasty, nasty individual. And, he was being nice to say, you no longer fit, because it is everything, contrary to even what I coach and train and speak on as far as what makes a powerhouse leader. And I was none of it.
Do you mind getting a bit more specific?
Sure.
Yeah.
So what I did was, in that excavation, I just had to ask myself a lot of questions about how I landed up in that parking lot. Like, who am I? Who was I? Who did I want to be? Who did I not want to be? What did I want? What did I not want? So I went through this whole series of very deep questions that many of us in our lifetime don't ask ourselves because we're scared of what we're going to come up with. And certainly I was not excited about it, but I was definitely welcoming to it because I needed to find out, why did I just lose everything in a matter of minutes? So about a year and a half later, I was on a jog with my puppy through the park, and I'm running through, and I had been for that year and a half, running through events and experiences and encounters and people and situations that would have justified this whole thing. And, our own perception of ourselves is very different than reality. And so I was having a difficult time reconciling that. I found myself to be this powerful, confident, strong individual. And yet here I was. So on that run in that dog park that day, I all of a sudden kind of came face to face with her in my mind. And she was ugly. She was curt. She was demeaning. She was demanding. She was defensive. She was abrasive. And she thought, it's my way or the highway, and you're just here to enjoy me and take care of me. And it was a very me world that I lived in. And so I physically, literally fell to the ground in a ball and a pool of tears of shame and disgust and embarrassment and humiliation, those things that people often avoid digging into who they really are because they don't want to feel all of that. But I have to say, it was like diving into, a saltwater pool that's nice and warm and cozy and just hugs you. And it was the most refreshing, liberating experience of my life because it allowed me to just let it all go, face it, but let it all go. And then get kind of logical around trying to figure out, why did I become this person?
Yeah. Well, I have like so many questions, but like the first like blaring thought that comes to mind is that so many people do like really this like inner work or like figure out who they are, either with a therapist or a coach. And it sounds like you did it by yourself. Was there someone else involved, or you were really just asking yourself these questions?
I pretty much was asking myself these questions. I've been journaling since I was about 8 or 9. And my journals are not diaries. They're just literally purging without thinking what's going on inside me. So I literally would carry my journal everywhere and anywhere I would go, and I still do. And I would just like kind of dump everything that's going on within me and never read it again, never edit it, never do anything. So I knew that that was what I primarily needed to do first, is just start purging and just start kind of dumping everything out of my head and my heart. Because what I really realized too is I needed to open up space within myself to really then kind of put the pieces together. And now I won't say no one helped me, because I did go and I asked my 5 sisters for one-word descriptions of me, good, bad, and the ugly. And my mother was there as well. And trust me, give them a couple cocktails and they had a field day with doing that. And then, I would kind of like engage other people, but now I'm on this transition from corporate into starting my own business. And so I didn't have the old people to go back to. And yet the new people just started kind of experiencing a different person than who I was before.
So even
So
before you had this like realization or this massive breakthrough, already in that year and a half, you were already starting to change.
yes, I knew something had to change. In that parking lot, I knew I had responsibility and I didn't like what I had been going through and what I just went through. And I knew that I'm always working. Even then, I was always working to change. But back then, it was very much about power, prosperity, and position. Those were the 3 P's. Those were my goals and aspirations. Was I wanted power, I wanted position, and I wanted prosperity. And that's all very greedy. That's all very selfish. And I immediately recognized that's not who I was when I was, a young girl and in my teens. So I wanted to become selfless. And therefore, I immediately started kind of reconciling who I was and who I really wanted to be and started working on it.
Yeah, I want to get more like into the business part, but before we get into that, what did you do after you had this like you broke down, you had this breakthrough really, and what was your like you had this realization of who you are and what was your next steps?
Well, my next steps was trying to figure out, how the heck do I apologize for 25 years of my, of who I was, and how do I apologize to the people that I impacted. And so I immediately, because I journal, I immediately said, I need to write a book. That's the only way I can really kind of put it out there to the masses. And so I wrote the book, Shedding the Corporate Bitch. And it really is more of a memoir than anything, although on the back of it, it has like a bitch test and it has some lessons learned and some tips. And I'm currently writing the sequel to it, which is more of a how do you shift from bitch to rich? Like,
That's
what
cool.
were those things I did?
Yeah.
So I just,
Like
huh?
that would be a great peer. Yeah.
Yes. And everything in my world are either bitches or riches. Your bitches are your fears, insecurities, and negativities that cause you to lash out on the world or within yourself. And then your riches are your talents and skills and qualities and traits that make you the beautiful person that you are.
Yeah. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. Okay, so let's get a little bit more into the business side of things. When you all of a sudden now had no income and no job, no like prep for what's happening, what did you decide? Like, how are you going to make sure that like what were you gonna do?
Well, it's a great question. Well, most people would take like time off because I certainly had a nest egg being, in the corporate world for so long. But that's not me. And so I immediately said that I was going to go and put all of my corporate polish and all of my corporate savviness into small businesses. I wanted nothing to do with corporate. It was like, I knew in that moment in the parking lot, I wanted nothing to do with corporate. I knew I could find a job very easily if I wanted to, but I just didn't want to go back there. And
Was
so
there a specific reason for it, or was just like fed up with the whole corporate situation?
well, it was more so kind of they betrayed me, they turned on me. So why am I all of a sudden going? And then at the same time, the second part, really, as I moved into that first year, was I didn't want to be triggered again to be that person. I no longer wanted to be that person. And the biggest part of that person at the time was my corporate career. It was everything. I mean, I lived and breathed to work, whereas today I don't. Um, I just decided that I'd go and give all of my experience and expertise to entrepreneurs. And so I started what was called the Boas group because, again, I was very corporate, very polished, very rigid. And I thought that that was kind of where I needed to go. Yet that never sat with me right for like almost 2 years. I just didn't sit with the Boas group. It just never felt genuine or authentic. And here I was working on, really becoming who I really truly was meant to be. So I happened to be real quick. I happened to be at a speaking engagement, and I was the speaker, and my friend was introducing me, and I gave her my very polished bio to read. And she kind of looked at it, crumpled it up, threw it aside, and said, "All you need to know about this woman is she's a ball of fire." Well, every hair on my body stood up. And I said, "That's me. That's exactly who I am." And I went back to my seat afterwards, went on GoDaddy and took up like, everything ball of fire. So I tell people kind of feel your way into branding. Don't like just
Yes.
do it. Just feel your way into it because you'll find what resonates with your true purpose.
Yeah, I like that. It's like not like trying to fit yourself in a box, but rather like your branding is you. Like you're not like
Yeah.
trying to bring something out of you. It's like this is who you are, and like your branding just shows it really well. Yeah.
Right. Right. But you don't even get that from the typical questions like a marketing person will ask you. That's why if you start asking yourself some of the questions that I posed earlier, that I did in my excavation of my soul, you really get down to who you truly are, not just the surface. Many of us answer those questions very surfacey. Who are you? Well, I'm a woman. I live in Atlanta. I have a business and I do marketing, whatever it is. It's not the essence of truly who you are. And if you could get down to that level, you'll figure your branding out very easily.
Is there specific questions that you could like maybe share with us?
Well, it's so some of those were kind of who are you? Who do you want to be? Who do you not want to be? What do other people say about you? What are the stories you say about yourself? What do you want? What do you don't want? What is important to you? What is not important to you? What gives you a lot of joy? What gives you a lot of pain? What inspires you, motivates you, kind of makes you smile and warms your heart? What do you want to mean to those around you? What kind of impact do you want to have? What's the legacy you want to leave behind when you're no
Yeah.
longer here?
I think
Those
a
type
lot
of
of
things.
these questions, it's more about like going deeper, not just taking like the surface answer. So who are you? It's not just a woman, but like
Right.
answering the deeper part of that
Why
question.
are you that woman?
Right.
Why are you that marketer? Why are you that business owner? Like keep asking why your response is the way it is, and dig deeper, 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 deeper until you get to the emotional side of it.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So what's your business today? Like, how do you bring your experience to help entrepreneurs today?
Well, today I actually, where I was in 2016, 17 was about 95% entrepreneurs, 5% corporate. I'm now more 80% corporate, 20% entrepreneurs, because right around 2016, I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden people were finding the book and they're like, wait a minute, why are you working with entrepreneurs when you have this huge mass of experience in what corporate leaders deal with? And so I actually, without even trying, just started getting a lot of coaching and consulting and training, 360 assessments, focus groups as a result of that. So I will work with entrepreneurs. They need to be more in the growing phase than the beginner startup phase. And I still love working with them because they're just so open to, kind of what the opportunities are for themselves. And I
That's
love
why
to
I love
infuse.
entrepreneurs.
Yeah, well, I love to infuse the fact that, you can make your business whatever you want it to be. And yes, you're going to fall, you're going to fail, you're going to screw up, you're going to spend a lot of money. I lost $150,000 in my first year. That's another story. But you just keep going, because that's what I love working for myself. And I have a team now. And if anybody, offered me a lot of money to go back to corporate, I'd probably say no.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think you would have like been an entrepreneur earlier, like without your experience in corporate, or like you needed that in order for you to become who you are?
No, well, first off, I don't spend time thinking about that kind of scenario. Basically, like, what would I have been, that kind of thing.
No, more to
Um,
understand personality is the question. Yeah.
oh, okay. Well, I would say I would always probably would have been in corporate for all of my career had this not happened.
Okay. So you really got to like explore more of yourself through this.
Absolutely. Now, my father was a corporate person turned entrepreneur, and I revered him. So there was always an inkling of entrepreneurship in me. And actually, in corporate, I considered myself an intrapreneur,
Yes.
because I fired myself more times than not to go and take on another project that I identified as an opportunity.
That's
So
why I asked the question.
yes, 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 yes. So I am very creative, very resourceful, very risk taking. And I think you need to be if you want to achieve your goals.
Oh yeah. I think even if you're not an entrepreneur, even though everybody here for the most part is, but even if you're not, like in any area of your life, like you said, like every goal, you have to be so cool, like that entrepreneur
Absolutely.
mindset to accomplish that goals. Yeah. So what's your next big thing? Like what are you looking forward to?
I am looking forward to, I kill myself sometimes. I am looking forward to the continued work that I'm doing, which I'm absolutely loving, with the corporate organizations that I work with, from a 360 assessment, coaching. At the same time, I've turned my book into a film script and a TV script. And
Ooh.
I'm writing, like I said, the second book as a follow-up, which will be more specifically, because I'm asked all the time, what and how did you transform the way you have? And so that all of that makes me very excited.
That is fun. Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here. It's really exciting getting to speak to you, and I appreciate your time.
You as well. Thanks.